if one is like played all in the hands of Yoshit, then all his spiritual advancement at once stop. It is said those who are just like play things in the hands of woman, Yoshit Mrugeshu, Yoshit Mrugeshu, those who are just like play things in the hands of woman cannot make any advancement in spiritual realization. That ends the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. तयत्तदाश्चर्यात्मजमायया विनिर्मितं भाति गुणत्रयात्मकं तथापि हम योषित तत्त्वविच्यते दिनादिदृशे भव मे भव क्षितिम्. We'll discuss the shloka now. Hare Krishna. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताका स्वामिनिति नामिने नमो आचार्यपदाय निताय कृपपदायिने गौरकथादामदाय नग्रग्रामकारिणे नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नामस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य दिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so this is the continuation of the last some sessions. This is the story of Daksha, Lord Shiva, Daksha and Lord Shiva, and Sati, the wife of Lord Shiva. So just to sort of recap, I'm just recapping this. So Brahma and Swayambhu Manu, basically this is a sort of story during the starting of the creation, where first Manu was Swayambhu Manu. There are 14 Manu in a day of Brahma. So on that first Swayambhu Manu has come, and he has been entrusted for the progeny. Of course, Lord Brahma is also helping him. And Shatrupa was a Swayambhu Manu's wife. That was the first woman, and then they further created the progeny. Then Swayambhu Manu daughter, he had three daughters, Devoti, Akuti, and Prasuti. Okay, so Prasuti was given to Daksha. Daksha is the Prajapati. Prajapati means they are engaged in the affair of having more progeny. Means continue the generations and create further living entities and human beings and all that. So that is the story. So Prasuti had a daughter. Basically, she was given to Daksha, and they had three daughters. That is basically Sati also was there. Okay, so Sati was given to Lord Shiva. Sati is the Lord Shiva's wife. We know that. So Sati is a very well-known, famous personality. Okay, so Lord Shiva, as you know, the story goes like, I'm just recapping the story. The story goes like Lord Shiva and Sati, they got married, and Daksha, who is the father of Sati, he was not very comfortable with that because he was not liking Lord Shiva. Although Lord Shiva is a very, at a transcendental platform, he is a topmost Vaishnava. Vaishnava nam yatha Shambhu. And but of course his appearance is apparently, externally is not very appealing to some of the people. He smears the ash on his body. He has got snake on his neck, and there are so many. He doesn't wear the cloths except some tiger skin, and he's not very neat and tidy and clean apparently externally, but he's a pure soul, and he's not only soul. He's not living. He's a tattva between Supreme Lord, Supreme Soul, and the normal Jiva Soul. He's in between. He's almost like at the level of the Supreme, at the level of the Vishnu, almost. Although he's not a Supreme, but he's almost level of, and more importantly, he's a topmost Vaishnava. So this is the appearance of Shiva, which Daksha did not like. Daksha was, of course, Daksha was not a it's not that Daksha was a bad soul or something. Daksha was very great personality on the other side. He's a Prajapati and he's very austere, and but he got popped up by his position because he was topmost position. He was at a very high position of Brahma himself was, sort of guiding him. So Daksha, but he got popped up. This is a problem with material world where we get some position, we may earn some riches, we may earn some adoration, we may earn some position, but immediately the Maya is so strong. Lord's Maya is so strong. She will, make us uh, feel proud. You know, all sort of things will keep coming in our mind, and we become puffed up. This is not story of Daksha only. It is story with practically all of us, and that's what Bhagavatam narrates so many stories because we need to learn from those stories. So it is not easy in material world to remain non-egoistic, not get popped up if you have got riches and position. It's very difficult. Why? Because nature of Maya is like that. Only Vaishnavas can do that. Why? Because Vaishnavas see the world, see in the sense Vaishnava understand this world, material world in a very perfect way. Vaishnava, as a pure transcendental soul, who are engaged in the devotional service of the Lord, um, they are they understand their position, they understand Lord's position, they understand Maya's position, and because they understand all positions of all those elements. When I say elements, the super soul, I mean super souls, soul, and then material elements. They see everything in the right perspective, and they understand that there is nothing to get popped up for a living entity because everything is given by Lord. That's the sum and substance of the story of Daksha and Lord Shiva. But then I'm just telling the recap. So now we are at the stage of the story where earlier we have discussed Daksha arranges the big yajna, and then Lord Shiva was invited, Lord Brahma was invited, all demigods were invited, all the great rishis were invited, great personalities were invited, great human beings were invited, demigods were invited. And in that assembly, when Daksha enters the assembly where all these great souls are visited, Brahma and Lord Shiva did not stand from their position while others stand to give respect. We give respect by standing if somebody enters in the particular assembly. That's the etiquette. The etiquette to show the respect. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva did not stood because Lord Brahma was anyway the father of Prajapati, Daksha. Daksha came from his body. So anyway, and Daksha was sort of knowing that Lord Brahma is is my origin, and he's the biggest, greatest personality. So he was not worried by Lord Brahma not standing to show him respect. Because there's nothing. I mean, elderly or great people need not. Of course, they show the respect, but they need not follow the etiquette of showing respect to the people who are in a smaller in position. That we know in material world also. They need not. Of course, they give respect to everybody. But Lord Shiva, he was expecting because he was his son-in-law, and he did not understood the position of Lord Shiva. He misunderstood, rather I will say. He misunderstood position of Lord Shiva. And he was going by his external appearance. This is a problem in material world also. We go by external appearances. Oh, some person, we judge the person. Oh, he's like this. He's not very, he's not very externally, he's not that good. He's not very rich also. He's not having position also. Or he doesn't, he's not very clean. Or, I mean, so-called external appearances. We go by that and we judge the people. It happens sometimes. Of course, I'm not saying, I mean, sometimes external appearance is also important. I'm not saying it's not important, but we should not judge the person only by external appearance. That's not good. So he was judging Lord Shiva based on external appearance. And secondly, son-in-law, he was expecting son-in-law to give him respect, which Lord Shiva did not do. Why he did not do? Because Lord Shiva was beyond all these etiquettes. He is a transcendental platform. He is in devotion. He don't have to really show the respect because Lord Shiva's position was much more higher than Daksha. Of course, that doesn't mean that Lord Shiva wanted to disrespect Daksha. It was just that he was not actually following the etiquettes. He was not worried about the so-called etiquettes of the material life. He's a transcendental platform. Even devotee does that. Even devotee also really does not worry about the so-called material etiquettes. Of course, they will follow the etiquettes because we need to be in this society, we need to be in assembly of these people. But they really don't mind it. I mean, they don't have much attraction to all these etiquettes and they don't go by that. Of course, Vaishnava follows the etiquettes against towards the Vaishnava. That's very different thing. Etiquettes of Vaishnavas are different, but I am talking about the general etiquettes, material life etiquettes. Vaishnavas follow that also, but they are not really attached to that. And sometimes they will not even follow, and that's okay. So this is a scene there, and Lord Daksha, the Daksha insults Lord Shiva by all means. He says him a very bad words, and he said, "No, you doesn't deserve to be my son-in-law. I am at such a great." Shiva did not say anything. Shiva just goes from there, and because he doesn't care for insults and praises and all that. That's a sign of Sita Pradya. That's the sign of devotee. That's a sign of elevated person, spiritually inclined person, elevated person. Because they understood the fallacy of this material nature. Anyway, that's the topic of this shloka. We'll discuss more, but I'm just giving the background. So this is the scene there. Lord Shiva leaves from the assembly, but then Lord Shiva follows and Daksha follows. They have this fight and they have heavy fight there, and then Yajna gets Yajna. I mean, the Daksha also leaves from there. Shiva also, Lord Shiva leaves from there. Yajna gets continued. That's what we discussed in earlier shlokas. Yeah, because Yajna is meant for satisfaction of Lord Vishnu, and that's what they do. They did, and Yajna got completed. But this is a scene there, not a very pleasant thing there. Anyway, so Daksha again arranges one more yajna later on because earlier that time Satyuga there are many yajnas arranged and this is the way to do the yajna. Okay, yajna means sacrifice. So in the as we discussed in the last my session, where yajna the form of yajnas we change based on the yugas, based on the time, place, and circumstances. That is yuga. Satyoga is a different way of yajna, the way it is doing done. They will have homa and they will put a lot of ingredients and they will sacrifice some animals to give them higher birth. I mean, it is done by very expert, very pure brahmanas with a very clear cut mantra, and they know what they are doing. Of course, this is not valid for Kali Yuga, just to caution the audience here, because that is not valid because we are not qualified to do all this. We don't have pure brahmanas. We don't have so many ingredients. We don't have time. We don't have that much patience. We don't have mental and physical power also. And that's strongly condemned not to do it in the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, there are problems with all living entities. We don't have that much power. I mean, that potency has gone. There's hardly any potency left and hardly any resources left. But the Lord Chaitanya, continued this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and he gave the Sankirtan Yajna. He installed the Sankirtan Yajna specifically for Kali Yuga because he himself was a incarnation of Lord Krishna. So, Sankirtan Yajna is the only Yajna in Kali Yuga to be done. And Sankirtan Yajna means chanting the Lord's name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Lord's name together with whatever resources we have, or singing, dancing, or just sitting, or whatever way, but it's doing it together. That's a sacrifice. Why? Because we are giving our time, we are giving our soul, we are giving our whatever resources we have got to do this. And that's what Prabhupada continued. And Prabhupada brought the organization Iskcon mainly for propagating the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Of course, there are other aspects to that, but all those aspects are basically to facilitate the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is a Sankirtan Yajna for Kali Yuga. So we are also doing Yajna if we are doing the chanting, if we are doing Kirtan together, or even individually. We are doing this Yajna. That's what we should be very much convinced. Anyway, coming back to the story, so Lord Shiva leaves from there. Yajna continue. Yajna gets stopped. Daksha arranges another yajna, but he doesn't invite. He did not. He doesn't invite to this. He doesn't give invite to Shiva and Sati. although they were their son-in-law and daughter. Purposely, because that's a bitterness. So we also do in metal world. I don't want to invite that guy like that. Okay, fine. Anyway, so Lord Shiva remains undisturbed. He said, okay, fine. But Sati comes to know about, oh, my father has arranged this another yajna, and Sati goes to Lord Shiva. Of course, Sati is very obedient, chaste wife of Lord Shiva, obviously. So, but he doesn't just rush for that event. She want to take permission of Lord Shiva. So she approaches Lord Shiva and speaks those words, which this shloka is one of those shloka. So she's telling that, look, my dear Lord, my dear husband, my father has arranged another yajna and we should go. Why? Because she's expressing my sisters will be there, my sister's husbands will be there, their children will be there, my relatives, my friends, my father's relatives, mother's relatives, all that will be there. And she get sort of charmed by that what you call ambience, or that setup. She get charmed. Oh, so many relatives, my friend. So this is the nature of material life, and that is what this is coming to. So Sati goes to Lord Shiva for taking his permission, and she's asking him also to come join her. He's asking him also to join her. Ki, oh, you also come. We'll go again. Forget the past. My father will be all right. And she's trying to convince Lord Shiva and taking the permission to go there. And that's the whole incident. But she knows, she knows that Lord Shiva is a elevated soul, spiritually, I mean, transcendental. I mean, he's a Lord himself. I mean, he's a Vaishnava. So she knows that. And she admits in this shloka, she says that, I just read that shloka again. Or this manifested cosmos is wonderful creation of the interaction of three material modes or the external energy of Supreme Lord. This truth is fully known to you. Yet I am but a poor woman, and as you know, I am not conversant with the truth. Therefore, I wish to see my birthplace once more. Sati is admitting that she is not as much as spiritually inclined as Lord Shiva. Mataji, Mataji, can you mute? Can you mute? Okay. Thank you, Mataji. She says, you as a elevated soul is seeing the things material world in different way. And you are not really worried about these etiquettes and this so-called mixing with material people, materialistic people, or so-called ordinary material world. But she said, I carry that attraction. I carry that attraction. Sati is saying that to Lord Shiva. Why? Because she's not spiritually elevated as much as Lord Shiva is. So, and she's admitting that I am not as elevated as you. So what she's trying to do here, we should understand. She's trying to acknowledge that I am not as elevated as you, but she's trying to convince in Lord Shiva, in spite of that, we should go. Because she's telling there is an attraction. She's admitting her attraction to it, her birthplace, family members, land, and all this. So this is a very important point, and this is a very important shloka, and we should understand the context. See, Bhagavatam is full of those stories, which are ultimately convinced into the telling us that you are not a body, you are soul, you are not a supreme. Lord Krishna is the supreme. You are not so-called. You don't have to worry about too much of worry about these materialistic affairs. Bhagavatam brings again and again these points. I mean, again and again us to this point that this is a material world. This is the place of misery. And real thing, our real duty is surrendering to Lord Krishna and doing the devotion. Okay. So that is Bhagavatam. The stories are compiled, which are the real incidences, real events, is compiled by Vyasa from the Puranas. These are the Purana stories. So now this is the story where all this thing is happening. Of course, just to complete the story further, I'll not get into detail, but what happens next is Sati goes there. Lord Shiva doesn't come, obviously. She goes and she gets angry and she gets frustrated and she sort of offers herself to the fire of that yajna. It means just to quit her body. And that happens, and Lord Shiva comes to know. He goes there and he curses the Daksha. He kills the Daksha, but then he's very merciful. So he again give the head of the goat to the Daksha just to realize, make him realize that look, due to your egoistic nature, due to your popped up position, I'm giving you the rebirth, but with this punishment that you will be seen as a goat, which is a sort of very subtle punishment. That's a story. But of course, Daksha gets liberated later. But what I am saying is basically the context in this shloka is Sati is trying to pursue Lord Shiva to go to Yajna of her father Daksha. So now we should understand one thing. In this connection, there are many shlokas. I will use those Srimad Bhagavatam shloka also just to elaborate this point which Prabhupada is making here in his purport, that how illusory this material world, and it is not just random. It is made, it is designed in such a way that it gives us illusion. Prabhupada explains, it gives us illusion that it looks very real. We feel this material world is so real. Real means we feel it is me, or it is for me, it is for me, it is for me, it is me only, and all these elements of this material world are mine only. And we identify ourselves with that setup and we forget our identity. So if something is not real, but we think as a real, is exactly called as illusion, Maya. How it is that? That's what we have to understand. Okay. So there are some shlokas which in parallel, that those shlokas draws in parallel to this particular shloka in Bhagavatam or particular event or incidents in the Bhagavatam. So the one of the shloka is Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durattaya. Mamevaya Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. Lord Krishna says, this Daivi Esha Gunamayi means this Maya, Mama Maya Durattaya. This Maya, Mama Maya. Mama means Lord Krishna says, my Maya is created by me. It is Daivi. Daivi means it is beyond control of ordinary human beings. It's divine. Means what? What is divinity? It's a divine design. So that living entities are actually made to, it's very subtle. And living entities are trapped, but that they don't understand, but it is made in such a way that it gives them punishment also, but it liberates them also. That's why it is divine. Okay, had it been only punishment, it could not have been called divine, but it is basically, it gives punishment to living entity, but make them realize slowly that this is Maya. And that's the beauty of this Maya. And that's how Lord has made this. But Lord says, this is Daivi Esha, is a divine energy of mind, which is Maya. It is made of three modes of material nature: Sattva, Rajasic, Tamas. These are the three modes which get mixed in different proportion and in the mind of living entity, and then living entity is driven by one thing, and then the whole affair is going on. And under this influence, only living entities are doing so many karmas. They are facing so many karma phalas and doing karmas and karma phalas, and that goes on. And they are finding some rasa, some perverted rasas, and some have so-called happiness here, although it's not real or it's not perfect. But anyway, that is how Maya. So Mameva ye prapadyante Maya metam tarantite. Lord says ki this is very durattaya, it is very difficult to surpass for living entity by his own power. But if living entity surrenders to Lord, Mameva eva prapadyante, if you surrender to me, prapadyante means surrender, I will take care of, you can come out of this. This is one of the shloka which describes the illusory nature of the material world, which Lord Krishna himself is telling us. Another shloka is Traigunya Vishaveda Naistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandva Nitya Sattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. Okay, so this again, this shloka says that this Maya is, this material world is made of three modes of material nature, and so-called Vedic hymns, so-called Vedic rituals are mainly to deal with these three modes, and try to gain best of out of this. Although the whole thing is is not work for a pure soul, and we should come out of this. We should not get into too much into Vedas, so-called Karma Kandiya section of Vedas or Jnana Kandiya section of Vedas. But what we should understand is we should remain aloof from all this, gain and loss and three modes of material nature. We should come out of that, and we should understand the core purpose of Vedas. That is to understand the Lord. That is to surrender to Lord and develop the devotion of the Lord. So this is one of the important shloka Lord Krishna says, which actually tells that you surrender to me. Lord Krishna, you surrender to me. I will take care of you, and you can come out of this Maya. One shloka Lord says, "It mama Maya duratya," but you surrender to me. Other shloka also says that you don't get too much enamored or too much get attracted by this Karma Kanda section of Vedas, which deals with three modes of material nature. How to counteract them, how to, these are all, some minor adjustment here and there to enjoy the material life, and simultaneously have some pious part in the life. Okay, it's all little bit balancing act, which is not really required, because that actually there is no balance there. But since living entities are, there are innumerous living entities, and they have got innumerous desires. So Lord is so merciful. He's trying to fulfill the so-called perverted desires of the living entities also. Although he cautions us, it is not the real desires, but you insist, so I am giving. So Lord gives that desires fulfillment, but actually it's material desires. But then anyway, to have those set up to fulfill the desires of living entities, material desires, simultaneously make them sure that at least they come to Lord and reject all this material world. All this arrangement is nothing but the whole cosmic manifestation. That's all Maya. Material world is made. Material world is made in such a way that you can enjoy your so-called material desires also. Okay, that's the whole facilitation. Whole material world is meant for that. Senses, five senses, another five senses, working senses, and then knowledge acquiring senses, and this all five elements, and mind and intelligence. All this setup we are enjoying. It's like a mechanical setup. It's like a car we are driving. It's like we are using this tool. It's a setup, yantra. We are using the yantra for our enjoyment. The setup, but simultaneously, Lord has given the knowledge also, Bhagavatam also, Vedas also. That what is the nature of this material world? Who are you? You are not this material world. You are the spirit soul. So Lord has given all this, and the whole thing is basically going on, and that's what we are here. So the point here is basically, uh, Lord has made this material nature, and Vaishnavas understand this, like Lord Shiva in this curse. Lord Shiva is least bothered about that yajna and then this insults and this praises and all that. He is fully absorbed in devotion of Lord. He is least bothered about it. But Sati was not understanding that, and due to Sati apparently not at the level of that transcendental realization, she was thinking this material world is real. Means what? She was thinking my father is real, my mother is real, my birthplace is my land, my property, my relatives, my sisters, their husbands, their children, all is real. Means she was identifying herself with those. And does it not happen there? So there is one more shloka, how Bhagavatam explains this shloka in some other chapter. That shloka exactly mentions this particular illusion, how this problem. What is that shloka? I'll read that shloka. Pumsa sriya mituna bhavametam tayor mitora hudra gantirmaho ato gruakshatra sutapta vittahi vittari janasya moho aham mayam maham mameti. Pumsa sriya mituna bhavametam तयोर मिथोर हृदय ग्रंथि माहु अतो गृहक्षत्र सुताप्त वित्त ही जनर्मोहस्य maham mameti. The shloka says the attraction between woman and man is the basic principle of this material world. Man is attracted to woman, woman is attracted to man. When they are attracted to their mind and body, and all this subtle body and gross body. And they unionize and they further create progeny. So stri means the Sanskrit meaning of stri means lady, woman. Stri means basically who expands our existence of material world. So we have got desires of this material world to enjoy this material. So stri expands those desires. And how? She expands those desires by giving the sexual pleasure, by giving the taste to the tongue, good dishes, and relatives, her relatives, his relatives, friends, relatives, friends. And the whole paraphernalia keeps growing. And we get attached to this. And woman generally is the epicenter of expanding this. And I mean, I'm not saying, nothing wrong in that in one sense, but there is something wrong there. It depends on how we see the thing. That's the whole Bhagavatam is giving the message. But the matter of the fact is, woman is a center of all this expansion of relations and all this. Man is actually follows the woman. Generally, that's what it happens. And that's how woman is made. Okay, woman works at an emotional level, man works at rational level. That's the general thing. Although at a soul level, there is nothing like woman and man. We are all soul. But when our bodies are concerned and our mental setup is concerned, women are more attached to all this, those paraphernalia. They are very much attracted to decorating themselves, taking husband with her, going to assembly, going to some festival, going some programs, and projecting. Oh, this is how my family is. How is your family? They are more naturally inclined to, and then man also is inclined to this thing. It's not that men are not inclined, but they are less inclined. Sometimes, more, sometimes, it's, but generally they are inclined also. And both of them are get inclined, and they due to attraction to each other. Woman takes part in men's attraction, men take part in women's attraction, and it goes on, and it keeps expanding. The summary here is basically we should understand that this is all expansion of our material activities. Of course, when we are accepting Grihasthasrama, we need to honor this. I'm not saying we should not honor this. We cannot say, oh, I will not go there, I will not go there. But as a Vaishnava, we should be careful in dealing with those affairs. First of all, we should not get mentally attached to all this. We should not get, because we should be like Lord Shiva. We should try to achieve Lord Shiva's, position. When I say position, I mean that qualities. Lord Shiva is the highest Vaishnava, but that's what whole Vaishnava, our Prabhupada has given all this literature to repeatedly tell us that we should become elevated Vaishnava. We should get liberated from this by becoming Vaishnava. Means what? Means we should understand first of all the fallacy of this material nature. It is like a bubble, or it is like a Maya, which doesn't, it looks there, but it doesn't exist. So we see this material world, Is it not? We see this material world. We enjoy this material world. We pursue this material world. We go to some Paris ceremony. So we are actually, it's real there. It's not unreal. Vaishnavas never say material world is unreal. Vaishnavas say material world is real, but it is temporary. And I am not really concerned with that. That's the core feeling of Vaishnava, inside heart feeling. Although he doesn't, or he or she, Vaishnava, never shows it outside. He doesn't say, hey, you are all temporary, you are all illusion guys, you are all fallen. He doesn't say that. But internally he knows, I am different, I am soul, I am Lord Krishna's soul. This is not a place for my permanent habitation. But he understands practically that I am here anyway in this mess. So he doesn't disrespect material world. Neither he disrespect the material so-called living soul. He in fact respect them. He show the compassion. He try to elevate them. But he knows by knowledge that no, this is not my permanent place of living. That's why Prabhupada explains all these purport every now and then that this is not your place, permanent place. Material world is not your place. Spiritual world is somewhere else, which is your permanent place. And real reality is in spiritual world, that is in Vrindavana. But material world is a perverted reflection of this spiritual planets, spiritual life. Perverted reflection means it is not unreal. It is there. It gives glimpse of material. So there are relation. There are relation. Human being, I mean, soul cannot live without love. Love means relation. Relation means relation. The basis of relation is love. Even in material world also, there is so-called love. Of course, it is not perfect because it is not it because Lord's without Lord's without getting connected through Lord to everybody, there is no love possible in real sense. But actually, there is a tendency to love, and there is some love affair, in material world also. They love so-called love, material love, love for so-called love, or we call it lust, whatever. But the tendency is there to be loved, to love somebody, and that is transcendental. Even in material world, also soul tendency of loving is transcendental, but it is misdirected or misused in the material world. He is finding right or wrong place there. Nevertheless, but when Vaishnava shows the love to each other, that's real love, even though it is material world. We should not say, oh, love between Vaishnava. Like we show love towards Lord, we show love to our Guru, we show love to our God brothers or our colleagues in spiritual life. That is real love. It's not that it is false. We should not think that way. But when it is used for some material sense enjoyment, that becomes lust. Okay, we should understand this setup of this material world. That's the whole purpose of these shlokas. Okay, so Vaishnava understand, but he doesn't externally show that. He doesn't say, hey, you are all material people, you are all fallen. No, he will be a part of them. He will always live with them. He will show them compassion. He will be showing as if he is part of that. But he himself will be aloof from all this. He will not attached to all this. He is attached to spiritual. He is attached to devotion, and he will try to inculcate that devotion in this material life itself, to others also, in self life also. So the whole point here is the soul, due to ignorance, are thinking this material life is real. They are thinking this is real, this is a actual reality, and I am part of it. And we go to various ceremonies, these are all related to my friends, and we enjoy that. And we are trying to enjoy these rasas with this. But this is all we should understand that. See, this is very important point. Knowledge is very important, spiritual knowledge. That's why Prabhupada wrote volumes of books. That is not a Jnanakanda. Prabhupada's books, so much Gyan is there, but that is not a Jnanakanda. It is a real spiritual transcendental knowledge. It is not some Karmakanda or Jnanakanda. No, it is not mental speculation. Prabhupada has given authentic knowledge. And what Prabhupada, we should read Prabhupada books and we should develop that knowledge of this material world, spiritual world, my relations with Lord, my relation with material world. So once you develop that knowledge, it will be easy for us to get detached from material world and get attached to Lord. So for example, what is mean by knowledge? Real knowledge means we should understand, oh, this is material world, this is a temporary, but this is not unreal. All this, whatever we are seeing and projecting ancestral me, my setup, my paraphernalia, is all our mental concoction. You should understand it is in my mind. It is there in mind. So I suppose I am getting attached to my native place, my native land, my native relatives and all that. So it is all in mind. It's a mental concoction. It is there in mind. The moment it is wiped up from mind, you will not have that. Okay. So it's all programmed in the mind because based on our earlier experiences, based on your mind keeps storing that, and mind keeps telling you, oh, this is my friend. Material. I'm talking about material life. Oh, this is my land. This is my home. This is my this, that. And since we are deriving some pleasure out of that, some pleasure out of all this transaction, we keep storing that pleasures, and it keeps reminding us that there is a pleasure here. and we keep seeking those pleasures. And that's what we deal with material world, and we continue dealing with material world. This is it not? Is like this. But sometimes it happens also many times that in some particular material instances, material situation, we used to have some deriving some pleasure, but after some time we feel, hey, what is this? I don't derive any pleasure, because we understand, oh, this it was false. It was false. We say this also happens. Is it not? It happens. In some situation, earlier, suppose for example, we used to enjoy some um, say some sport in the childhood. That time that rasa was there, we used to enjoy that sport. Now we don't really enjoy so much, or practically no enjoyment. We don't feel, no, that is all childish. Of course, and there are something which you keep enjoying now also. Anyway, the matter of fact is our mental setup changes. And if you change our mental setup, that is control your mind and purify your mind, all these illusory impressions of so-called pleasure from material life gets rectified. They get really rectified, and they get converted to transcendental real pleasure, which is the spiritual pleasure. Of course, it's easy saying done. It's not that easy. And we should not be getting too much thinking of this also. It should not be done mechanically. It is not easy to control the mind or wipe out all these things on some fine day. No. And we should not overdo also. Let it be there. Let it take its due course. But we should follow those four relative principles. Slowly develop the detachment and attachment to Lord's name. Follow this transcendental science of bhakti. Slowly you will get attached to the reality and get detached from the illusion. That's a process. We should not do it whimsically, or we should not, overdo it, overkill it. We should do it naturally. I mean, let there be so-called illusions and all that. We know that. But at least we should understand this is illusory happiness. We should not get frustrated because it's not easy to come out of this. We should be just follow the process of bhakti under the guidance of Guru. Just surrender to Guru, surrender to Prabhupada, surrender to Lord, surrender to Bhagavatam, and just keep following that. Keep educating yourself, keep acquiring this knowledge of understanding what is material world, what is spiritual world, what is your relation with Lord, what is your relation to this so-called Maya. And all those detail, that's all Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is full of it in a very simple way. And slowly it happens. So it is not possible to stop all this material thing in overnight, and don't know no need of doing. They know it's not recommended also. We have to follow all these proper stages of life. Okay, so that is how we have to keep developing the knowledge and understand the overall nature of this material world. Slowly develop that knowledge. It will give that detachment. Knowledge will give detachment. And then once you follow the process of bhakti, once you get attached to Harinam, you will feel that that is the real pleasure. That's at a soul level. Then mind become purified. The subtle body get burnt or get purified, whatever you call, and you dwell at a very pure stage of transcendental, platform. So that's what the bhakti process is. But the thing is that the incidence here is basically Sati is accepting that I am not as elevated as, and she acknowledged that Lord Shiva is least bothered about all these material etiquettes, material events, and so-called all these things. Even are respecting this Yajna Kanda also. Okay, because Lord Shiva was fully absorbed in transcendence of Lord, devotion of Lord. But Sati was accepting that, yes, I am not at that level. Hence, she was requesting Lord Shiva to come along with him, and then little bit allow her to enjoy the setup of material world, which she acknowledged. But acknowledging this itself is so, that's why Sati is at very elevated position, because she's accepting, at least she's acknowledging that, yes, I'm not at it. She's understanding the science. She's understanding the knowledge that this is all fallacy. Material world is a fallacy. When I say fallacy, not that way. In the sense that it is not permanent. although material world per se is not false, it is true. It is there. The laptop is here. The relatives are there. The marriage ceremony is there, or that ceremony, this ceremony, money, all that material elements are there. We are only trying to live with that. And so we acknowledge, we don't say, oh, it's an illusion, because the Mayavadis say it's an illusion. It is false. We are thinking it's a dream, they say. We say it's not dream. Vaishnava never say it's dream. It's a real thing, but it is not meant for us. It is not our real identity. We are misidentifying ourselves with that material. So material nature is there. It has got its own purpose. That is all different energy of Lord. I am different energy of Lord, which is a marginal potential of Lord. And I am supposed to get attached to Lord. And through Lord attachment, we see the material world as a Lord's energy. In that way also we are connected with material world. But we don't get attached to material world per se. This is how it is. It's all depends on where your mind is. Okay. So we fix our mind in Lord. So obviously the mind gets fixed, gets purified, then we come to our natural position. Our natural position is Lord. Okay. Or when I say Lord, Lord's devotion, Lord's servant. That is our natural position. So this is by this knowledge we understand. So this is the way Vaishnavas deal with material world. This is a classic case of how Vaishnava here, Lord Shiva, deals with material world. He is least bothered about his insults. He is least bothered about so-called respect. He is not really harming anybody. He is in fact respecting everybody. But anyway, his wife is there. So he's respecting wife also. See, he goes initially to the Yajna Mandapa there. I mean Yajna, whatever that Mandapa, whatever is there. He goes that arena and he attains that. But he's not really worried about it. He is detached from all this. So this is the way Vaishnava deals with from the detachment. Vaishnava deals with material by detachment, not the physical isolation. May not be possible for everybody. In Kali Yuga, it is not possible to isolate yourself from all this material thing. It's not recommended also. Grosthasrama is given. Grosthasrama means you have to, in this material world, you have to have this material world affairs, but in the detached mode with the Vaishnava principles. Of course, we don't get over involved into material world also. And that's why four regulative principles come into play. The moment we follow four regulative principles, that means you are actually restricting your attachment to material world. Otherwise, what is material world? It's all enjoyment of senses. Now, this four regulative principle, if you follow, you are actually restricting your senses to the major extent, and that is sufficient. Then you follow our Bhakti Parampara, follow the Guru, follow Shastra. That's enough for us to take it back to Godhead. If you follow it perfectly. Okay, so this is how, but we don't really, we get married, Vaishnavas get married, they have got their own problem. We earn money, we struggle in office, we struggle here and there, we do all this, we attend ceremonies, but with all these restrictions and with proper, but the whole mood of the Vaishnava should be more importantly, mechanically trying to follow these rules, regulation is important. But more important is, anyway, we have to make best use of bad bargain. Anyway, we are in material world. We have to deal with all these material world people. And it's not that we are also perfect. We are also got material tendency. So why not to use these people relation? Why not to use these opportunities or these so-called incidents, events, and all these forums, assemblies for propagating spiritual consciousness, so bhakti parampara. So we should use these so-called material events, incidences to propagate the bhakti. That is preaching. We should do preaching. Preaching doesn't mean not necessarily sitting on Vyasasana and always that formal. That's a formal way of preaching. But we can always talk to people, friends, relatives, although they are materialistic or semi-spiritualist or spiritually inclined. Doesn't matter. We should give them this knowledge. We should utilize this. That is the best way to, utilize this material world. And that is the way Vaishnava, real Vaishnava will, sort of utilize this material. Prabhupada showed by this example. Of course, Prabhupada was the Acharya. He showed by the example. We are supposed to follow that example. Prabhupada was a Grostha. He followed his all Grostha. He intermingled with so-called materialistic people also. But he showed how to, of course, he was Acharya. But we can also follow that, at least the mood of Prabhupada. We should not imitate, but we can always follow what Prabhupada. And that is what we should do. We should be part of material world anyway, but have it only transactional way. Don't get attached to all this. and try to make these material people also the devotees, the real motto of devotee. We should not get isolated also. Oh, this is a material world. This is no. I don't want to mix with people. That should not. Okay, if one is not confident of mixing with people, and then okay, that's fine. But the real thing is we should actually get into all this battlefield and propagate the Krishna consciousness. That's the best mood which Prabhupada showed to us, and we should follow that. And that is the whole Iskcon is basically. Iskcon is all the Iskcon centers and the midst of the city, where outside temple there's full Maya there. Okay, and we are going and preaching everywhere. Of course, it should be done under guidance and supervision of Vaishnava. We should not, because we are generally people like me, at least we are weak souls, so we may fall prey of Maya. But do it under Vaishnava's supervision, everything will be all right. But take risks for preaching. Go to this so-called material. Don't think material world as a, you should not hate this material world. We should see the material world as a, what is his position? What is my position? What is material? Deal in that way. Once you understand the constitutional position of material world, my constitutional position and Lord's position, things falls into place, and go by that. Shastras will direct you. Guru will definitely give you that empowerment. So that's how it is. So this is the shloka, and we discuss all this. So basically, this is what I wanted to share the thoughts with you. And next story continues. We'll not get into that story. It's a long story, but very interesting story. And one should also understand that human nature is by heart, they are very soft and very emotional. So they want to balance the father side also and this husband side also. She is respecting Lord Shiva and she is respecting Daksha also. And that is what duty of woman is also is basically. Woman's role in Vedic culture was very exalted, and they are highly respected. And I mean, it's all false propaganda. Some people do earlier. Women were overpowered and all that. It's all nonsense. It was not the case. Women were given their proper position, and they were playing very important role in propagating the devotion along with husband, and they were balancing the whole so-called material activities, because anyway you are in material, you are in grosthasram, you have to balance those. So they were playing important roles. So women have got very important role to play, which Vedic culture has given very categorically. And we have seen this. If you see our generation also, our one generation, two generation, we have seen our mothers, grandmothers. They were so balanced, and they were balancing the whole thing so diligently, at least to major extent. We can see practically, because we are all Bharat, we are all Indians, so we are from this Vedic parampara, we are from Sanatan Dharma, so we have seen this. This culture exists now also. Of course, it's deteriorating, but still it exists to some extent. So we can see. So Sati was, but if you go to further to story, actually Sati takes side of Shiva. Shiva is not taking side of Daksha. Shiva is telling Daksha, you are wrong. Although you are my father. And she's just, so this is how woman role is. Anyway, it's a very different topic altogether. So we will, as story unfolds, things will be very interesting story, very nice story. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to share with you. And any comments, questions, please, raise those questions, or you can comment, and then after some time we close now. It's already 9 o'clock. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandra Pranam, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Dandra.
Thanks for your wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhuji, as you were mentioning in the class that we should, whatever we see, whatever these things are, we should accept as a real. Otherwise, it's like Mayavadi, they tell that's illusion, something like that. But here in the purport, Prabhupada is also saying only less intelligent persons accept the perverted reflection of the spiritual world to be real. So how do we understand? How do we understand
only
this?
Less intelligent person accept this perverted reflection of spiritual world to be real. Yes. So there is no contradiction here. See, we should understand. Prabhupada is not saying in this line that material world is unreal. He is saying this sentence is to the context of your mental setup. Your living entity's mental setup. So when Prabhupada is saying this material world is not real and perverted reflection of spiritual world, it means that spiritual world is actual reality. Means whatever we are looking for as a love, as a enjoyment, as a real thing, satisfaction of soul is in spiritual world. All the relations, that is in spiritual world. Material world is there only as a material gross world, but there is no real relationship the way it is in spiritual. That way it is unreal. So material world is real as a body, as a yantra, as a material elements are there. Means this is chemical, this is laptop, this is a wire, whatever you can see around is real. But we are trying to derive some satisfaction or enjoyment or some rasa out of that material world is not real. Because material world is not meant for this sort of enjoyment. Material world is not meant for, it is not made for satisfying your real desires of love. It is meant for satisfying your senses enjoyment. But you are not senses, you are not body, you are soul. So if you are trying to derive the real pleasure on the soul level, which is love, which is a real pleasure, it is not, material world will not give. That way it is unreal. But the reality of material world being there physically present is there. So that way Prabhupada is saying. So when we Prabhupada say material world is not real, means he is meaning your association with material world to derive permanent pleasure is not real. It's not going to happen. That's why it's temporary. That is what Prabhupada explained. That is why we should take it, because it's not only in this sentence. Prabhupada amply made it clear in every purport. This is how it should be seen. So I am saying from that. I hope Prabhu that explains.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Super, it's clear now. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so if there are no questions and comments, we will close now. Thanks, devotees, for your time, and we'll continue discussing very interesting topics of Bhagavatam going further. Hare Krishna. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Bol. We are